Two warriors, one cage. On July 2nd, Rain Guerrero and Pearl Gonzalez went to war in a fight that redefined heart, grit, and legacy. Blood, power, and raw will. This wasn't just a battle. It was a reckoning. The roar of the crowd grew louder as fight night reached its peak. The stage was set for one of the most anticipated women's bouts of the summer. Rain Guerrero versus Pearl Gonzalez live from the XFC Detroit Grand Prix 2. The electricity in the air was unmistakable. Fans from around the country had gathered, knowing this wasn't just another fight. This was a clash of styles, experience, and raw determination. Rain Guerrero, the undefeated prospect from Texas, entered the cage. With ice in her veins, her walkout music thumped with purpose, and the crowd responded in kind, some cheering, others uncertain of the rising star. With a professional demeanor and calm focus, Guerrero was here to prove she wasn't just hype, she was legacy-bound. On the other side stood the battle-tested Pearl Gonzalez. A former UFC competitor, Gonzalez brought with her a wealth of experience, grit, and the hunger of a veteran still chasing greatness. Detroit had seen fights before, but this one felt different. You could sense it in the silence before the first bell. The cage door locked. The referee stepped in, and just like that began. Round 1 opened with intensity. Guerrero immediately took the center, light on her feet, snapping the jab with surgical precision. Gonzalez circled, analyzing, absorbing the early tempo. Pearl's game plan was clear. Drag Guerrero into deep waters and test the young star's composure. But Guerrero didn't flinch. She peppered Gonzalez with a flurry of straight punches, disrupting rhythm and keeping the veteran guessing. Pearl answered back with her signature calf kicks, trying to slow Rain's movement and set up her boxing combinations. The crowd gasped at a slick 1-2 combo from Guerrero that landed flush, snapping Pearl's head back. But Pearl smiled, the kind of smile that says, "I've been hit harder." She bit down on her mouthpiece and pushed forward. Midway through the round, Pearl changed levels and shot for a double-leg takedown. Guerrero sprawled beautifully, using her hips and underhooks to stay upright. The crowd erupted. This wasn't going to be an easy night for either woman. Back on the feet, Pearl found success with her hooks in close range. A tight left cracked Guerrero's cheek, the first real test of her chin. But Rain stood her ground. She returned fire with a blistering body shot that echoed through the arena. The round ended with both women exchanging fire, toe-to-toe, refusing to back down. The crowd roared. Round 1 was a razor-thin battle of skill and will. In the corners, coaches barked orders. Water bottles sprayed, deep breaths were taken. But neither fighter looked fatigued. They looked emboldened. Round 2 picked up right where the first left off. Guerrero, now more aggressive, pressing forward with purpose. She opened with a stiff leg kick and a cross that grazed Pearl's temple. But Gonzalez, ever the technician, slipped inside and landed a clean elbow in the clinch. They grappled against the cage, trading knees, fighting for under. Pearl dropped for another takedown, and this time, she got it. Guerrero fell to the mat, but immediately scrambled, fighting to her feet like a veteran herself. Pearl tried to capitalize with ground control, but Rain's explosive hips and relentless energy made it difficult. Within moments, they were back standing, both women breathing heavily, but neither backing off. Rain continued to push the pace, her volume striking beginning to take effect. Pearl's face showed signs of wear-redness around the eyes, swelling on the cheek, but she didn't stop. She kept pressing forward, a tank in motion. The second round ended with another wild exchange. Both landed bombs. Both refused to blink. As the horn sounded, fans were on their feet. Commentators shook their heads. "This is a fight," one muttered. "This is war." Entering the third and final round, it was anyone's game. Youth and cardio were pitted against Gonzalez's experience and grit. The momentum teetered like a pendulum, and the outcome would depend on who could dig deeper. Guerrero came out blazing. She knew she couldn't coast. She landed a spinning back fist that stunned Gonzalez, followed by a rapid flurry of punches. Pearl clinched and slowed her down, dragging her into dirty boxing exchanges. For 2 straight minutes, they battled along the cage wall, knees, short elbows, wrist control, neither gave an inch. Pearl attempted another takedown. Guerrero stuffed it. The younger fighter was proving she belonged in there with one of the division's toughest names. In the final minute, the two fighters stood center cage and traded everything they had. Punch for punch, kick for kick. One last display of toughness, heart, and warrior code. The horn sounded. Both women raised their hands. Blood, sweat, and respect smeared across their faces. The judges took their time. The scorecards read 2-9-2-8. Guerrero 28-29 Gonzalez, and 29-28 winner by split decision. Rain Guerrero. The crowd exploded. Pearl Gonzalez raised Rain's hand, nodding in approval. Guerrero had passed the ultimate test. Not just winning, but enduring. This was her night, but it was their fight. Post-fight, Rain spoke with raw emotion. "This was everything. Pearl's a warrior. I've looked up to her for years. To share the cage with her was an honor, but I'm here now. I belong." With this performance, Guerrero solidified herself as more than a prospect. She was now a contender. And with that kind of grit, she may soon be a champion. Pearl, as always, left the cage with dignity. She earned it, she said. I gave her hell, but she stayed in it. She's tough. The XFC Detroit Grand Prix 2 would be remembered not for knockouts or trash talk but for this battle. Guerrero versus Gonzalez. Fire versus iron. The past meeting the future. And for 15 unforgettable minutes, the cage held both. This was a fight that proved why we watch, why we cheer, why we believe. On July 2nd, the XFC cage in Detroit bore witness to a collision that shook the very core of women's MMA. Two fighters, two journeys, one night. Rein Guerrero, the undefeated phenom with the striking of a sniper and the composure of a veteran. Across from her stood Pearl Gonzalez, a fan-favorite warrior with UFC pedigree, hardened by battles and fueled by unfinished business. From the moment their names were announced, you could feel that this wasn't just a contest. This was a statement, a career-altering war between youth and experience. Round 1 kicked off with measured aggression. Guerrero established range early, her footwork gliding, her jab popping like a metronome. Pearl, always dangerous, stalked forward, setting traps with her feints and pressuring with her presence. She absorbed Guerrero's initial barrage, then closed distance with a looping right that narrowly missed. Rein's game plan was clearly built on movement and angles. She darted in and out, throwing crisp combinations and denying Pearl the pocket. But Gonzalez didn't panic. She dug into her veteran bagcom patient, waiting for the young lioness to make a mistake. Midway through the round, Guerrero landed a clean body kick that thudded against Gonzalez's ribs. The sound cracked through the arena. Pearl winced, but she grinned too, as if to say, "You're in my world now." The round ended with both women trading shots. Guerrero's speed versus Gonzalez's pressure. It was razor thin. Judges leaned, and cornermen yelled advice. The war was just beginning. Round 2 exploded with urgency. Pearl pushed the pace, trying to smother Guerrero's movement. She landed a short elbow inside the clinch that opened a cut under Rein's left eye. Blood trickled, but Rein responded immediately with a furious combo jab, cross, left hook. Her hands were lightning. Pearl, undeterred, went to work in the clinch, pressing Guerrero against the cage and dragging her down with a gritty double leg. The arena erupted, but Guerrero wasn't staying down. Her hips flared, her legs scrambled, and within seconds, she was back to her feet. That was the story of round 2. Every time one woman surged, the other fired back. Back and forth, vicious calf kicks from Gonzalez, surgical counters from Guerrero. It was becoming a masterpiece of violence. Then came round 3. The final round, and everything changed. Guerrero came out like a bullet from a barrel, throwing a high kick that barely grazed Gonzalez's temple. The crowd gasped. Gonzalez closed the distance immediately, tying up Rein and dragging her into the clinch. She landed knees to the thighs, elbows to the head, but Rein broke free. She backed out, reset, and launched a picture-perfect 1-2-2 that popped Gonzalez's head back. Then came the teep kick to the body. Then the left hook upstairs. Gonzalez stumbled for half a step, her body absorbing immense punishment. Still, Pearl fought on. With 3 minutes left, the veteran turned to her bread and butter, the grind. She pinned Guerrero to the cage again, looking to wear her down. But Rein had answers. She reversed the position, landed a brutal elbow over the top, then shot for her own takedown. The crowd rose. This wasn't just a striker anymore, was showing she could do it all. They scrambled on the ground. Pearl fought to stay on top. Guerrero transitioned, looking for a Kimura, then a sweep. Pearl countered. It was human chess with fists. The pace never dipped. They were drenched in sweat, covered in blood, but neither woman showed an ounce of quit. With a minute to go, they stood. The final 60 seconds. Everything on the line. They met in the middle and traded everything they had left. Hooks, kicks, elbows. Guerrero landed a huge right hand that sent sweat flying off Pearl's head. Gonzalez answered with a monstrous overhand left that snapped Rein's jaw sideways. The crowd screamed. It was chaos. It was beauty. 10 seconds. Rein surged. Pearl countered, both throwing until the bell. Horn sounds. Silence. Then an eruption. The crowd on their feet, screaming. Two warriors had just delivered a Fight of the Year candidate, and the judges had the impossible task of deciding a winner. One card, Guerrero. One card, Gonzalez. The final card, Guerrero. Split decision victory. Rein Guerrero stays undefeated. But there were no losers. Both women embraced in the center of the cage, bloodied but smiling. They had put on a show that would be talked about for years. Respect earned. Legends built. This wasn't just a main event, it was a reckoning. Guerrero had proven she belonged. Pearl had proven she was still elite. In Detroit. Detroit had witnessed a war. The torch hadn't been passed, it had been fought for, clawed for, earned with every strike, every scramble, every second of that final round. As Guerrero raised her hand and spoke to the crowd, you could hear it in her voice. Gratitude, fury, purpose, respect to Pearl, she said. She brought the best out of me. That's what this sport is all about. And as Gonzalez walked away, arms raised to the crowd, the applause followed. No boos, no silence. Just the thunderous sound of respect. That night, July 2nd, wasn't about records. It was about legacy. Guerrero versus Gonzalez will live on, not just as a fight, but as a moment where two warriors left it all in the cage and gave the world a reason to believe in this sport all over again.